For more than 1,000 years, Constantinople was considered impossible to conquer. Its enormous walls had turned back Persians, Arabs, Bulgars, and Rus armies. To many people in medieval Europe, the city seemed eternal, the last surviving piece of the Roman Empire. Yet in the spring of 1453, everything changed over the course of 53 days. The fall of Constantinople was not simply the capture of a city, it was the end of an age. The Byzantine Empire, which traced its origins back to ancient Rome, finally disappeared. In its place rose the Ottoman Empire, which would dominate southeastern Europe and the eastern Mediterranean for centuries. By the 15th century, Constantinople was a shadow of its former glory. Centuries earlier, it had been one of the richest and most populated cities in the world, filled with merchants, churches, libraries, and imperial palaces. But repeated wars, economic decline, and the Fourth Crusade of 1204 had weakened the empire. By 1453, the Byzantines controlled little beyond the city itself. The man determined to finish the empire was 21-year-old Ottoman Sultan Mehmet II. Unlike previous rulers who had failed to take Constantinople, Mehmet approached the siege with new technology and enormous ambition. He assembled a huge army and had giant cannons capable of destroying the medieval walls that had stood for centuries. Inside the city, Emperor Constantine XI knew the situation was desperate. He had around 7,000 defenders against an Ottoman force many times larger. Day after day, cannon fire hammered the walls, while the Byzantines repaired the damage overnight. One of the most remarkable moments of the siege came at the Golden Horn, the harbour protecting one side of the city. The Byzantines had stretched a giant iron chain across the entrance, preventing Ottoman ships from entering. Mehmet responded with an extraordinary solution. His men dragged ships overland on greased wooden tracks and launched them into the harbour behind the chain. On May 29, 1453, after weeks of relentless attack, the Ottomans launched their final assault. Waves of soldiers overwhelmed the exhausted Byzantines. Constantine XI reportedly removed his imperial insignia and joined the fighting as an ordinary soldier. He was never seen again. The siege is often seen as the moment the medieval era ended and the modern age began. Gunpowder had proven capable of destroying even the strongest fortifications, changing warfare forever. The fall of Constantinople also marked a major cultural and religious turning point. For the Ottoman Empire, the victory represented not only a military triumph, but the growth of a powerful Islamic empire centered on one of the world's greatest cities. Under Mehmet II, Constantinople was rebuilt and transformed into a thriving capital of the Muslim world, eventually becoming known as Istanbul. Rather than abandoning the city, the Ottomans restored its markets, repaired its infrastructure, and encouraged people from different backgrounds and faiths to settle there. Mosques, schools, libraries, and public buildings flourished, turning the city into a center of learning, trade, and culture. Islamic architecture and scholarship became deeply woven into the city's identity, while many Christian communities were also allowed to continue practicing their religion under Ottoman rule. The conquest is often viewed as the meeting point between two eras: the fading world of the Byzantine Romans and the rise of the Ottomans as a global Islamic power. It also showed how rapidly technology was changing warfare, as gunpowder and artillery reshaped the balance between empires. Mehmet's conquest of Constantinople transformed it into a new cultural and religious center that would influence Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa for centuries.